It was just some internet noise then.
Yeah.
Probably.
How's it going? How's everything?
Good. Yeah, you guys must be my lucky charm as far as my internet service, because today I now have like this cell phone tower that was within a mile of the house here has been down for about 3 weeks. So, you know, I pretty much get all my data off my phone. I don't have Wi-Fi here, so yeah, I've had to like drive, you know, like out of the neighborhood to be able to like get a workable signal to do anything. So
Wow, that's crazy.
yeah, so I was envisioning having to like be sitting in my car talking to you guys, but now I'm able to hang in the basement.
Cool. You're in Michigan, right?
Yeah, Ann Arbor.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
It's
So
about 40 minutes west of Detroit.
Okay.
we checked it out. It's like a nice town, like a nice suburb town, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a bubble. You know, college town. The University of Michigan is here.
Right.
So, you know, all of the socioeconomic, you know, issues that, you know, Detroit's had over the decades. You know, I mean, Ann Arbor is, and for that matter, a lot of other cities in Michigan. You know, Ann Arbor, because of the university, has always been.
It's a research center type place, right? They do a lot of research.
They do a lot of research. I think they have a, yeah. I mean, the college itself, I think it's, you know, it's definitely known as like a really good engineering program, and now it has a really good music program. You know, as well as sports, of course, and you know, their medical school. I mean, yeah, they're pretty dialed in with everything.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Rob, let me ask you, how'd you get into music? Do you come from a musical family?
Yes. My father is a violinist, classically trained. He went to Juilliard for
Wow.
you know, out of a high school, and then he was drafted in the you know, for the Korean War, and he was able to be stationed at West Point in New York and just play in the bands there. So he didn't have to go overseas. And then after his deployment, he came back here and got his master's in violin from University of Michigan.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom was also a violinist. She passed away in the 80s, but yeah, she she didn't go to Juilliard, but she went to University of Oklahoma.
Okay.
And then after she married my dad, she ended up getting actually like a math master's degree here, you know, once they settled up here and had me. So yeah, and my uncle as well is also my dad's younger brother by about 10 years. He's also a classically trained, you know, great violinist. He went to the Curtis Institute in Philadelphia. And
so my question was really an understatement.
well, I mean, I'm just sniffing their vapors as far as any, you know, musical talent. I'm the black sheep drummer, but yes, you know, I did start out playing violin when I was quite young, you know, as I think, you know, the path for most violinists, they start kids really young.
Yeah.
So I must have been maybe 4 or 5, and I played for just a few years. And, you know, one of my next door neighbor, one of my best friends, is a brilliant jazz piano player. And, you know, when we were kids, you know, he had quite an affinity for the piano. And so that kind of inspired me to, hey, I want to do that. That's, you know, that's a lot cooler than trying to, you know, saw on a violin. So I gave piano a good 5 or 6 years, but it was the, you know, kind of the, you know, sort of granny piano teacher, classic, you know, just stereotypical playing, you know, little excerpts and scales. And it still wasn't, you know, it wasn't the most exciting. Yeah. I mean, I probably would have loved to, you know, rocked out some Elton John or something, but, you know, it was just the method books and,
right.
And then, you know, so both of those were sort of, you know, with teachers. The aforementioned piano player, who was my next door neighbor, his younger brother, who is also one of my best friends, he'd gotten a drum set, and you know, I think maybe he wanted to play, and his mom got him a kit. So it was just sitting over at their house, and I just had this epiphany. I saw it, and I was like, I don't know what that is, but it looks badass. And you know, the Rick, the pianist, at that time he was already in junior high in a jazz band, so he kind of knew some of the nuts and bolts of, playing a basic beat and a jazz
Swing.
beat or a rock beat. Yeah. Swing. So
Yeah.
he kind of just gave me a quick primer, and, I was just begging my parents, and I think he also encouraged my folks to, hey, maybe, try getting Rob a drum kit,
Yeah.
because at first they were definitely concerned about the noise and everything else. But yeah, it worked out. I just got this cheap little, knockoff kit, and, just beat that thing into submission, self-taught. And then later, was able to, convince them to get me a nicer kit. But yeah, I was pretty much self-taught from about 12 to self-taught. But from the age of 12, I was just playing really by myself. I played with Rick, the pianist. We kind of had a duo when we were kids, piano and drums. And he moved to California for a while. So then I was on my own, just sort of practicing. And then it wasn't until later in junior high that his younger brother, who had the drum set back in the day, he was going to a different school, and he had some friends that were looking for a drummer for their rock band. And so I basically just, crashed their basement, kid rock band, jam into the Stones, or, all these just cover tunes.
Yeah.
And that was my indoctrination into, playing in an ensemble, really, with guitars and bass. And we then tragically broke up at the end of 8th grade. And I was heartbroken. But then luckily, 9th grade, all those guys, we all ended up in the same high school. So we reconvened, got a different singer. And then that was really like, we're going to go for it. And we were writing our own original material. And we were, almost every night we would just rehearse, at the guitar player's house. And we ended up doing some gigs around town. We did a few in Detroit. We even had a dalliance with a manager. But then it didn't really, we played, but I don't know. I was at that point in my high school, they also had a great jazz program, small group jazz. So I was rehearsing with them, the rock band, at night. But then, during the school year, I was doing small group jazz, learning tunes. We had a great band director, a guy named Mike Grace. He taught at my high school for decades, and it was fairly revolutionary for the time for a high school music program to actually have small group jazz, because mostly it was more stage band that they might do a jazz tune or two, but yeah, to actually play in a quartet or a quintet and to learn how to be an accompanist, which is definitely I benefited more for that than anything, than trying to be a drum shredder or you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
just to be able to play time and to be able to back up a soloist. So I cut my teeth doing that kind of jazz during the day and rock at night. But I was definitely thinking about music school, and so that led me to go to Berklee right after I graduated high school. Actually, I took a semester off, and after I graduated high school, I had been self-taught. Finally, I was like, I got to take some drum lessons, because I didn't really know how to read. My reading ability from way back in the piano and violin days was pretty much gone. So I hooked up with a local teacher. I just said, man, I really just give me a crash course on reading notes, playing snare drum. That's it. And so I did that for the summer and the next semester, and then the winter term I started at Berklee, and I went there for that winter term, and then the next year, which would have been the very late 90s, or late 80s, excuse me. And then as Berklee was awesome, but it was also very expensive. And one of my other friends from high school had started to he went to University of North Texas to do music there, and we would compare notes, and he really loved the program, and it was considerably less expensive. So then I decided to make the move and transfer to University of North Texas, which I did. I think it was 88 or 89. Yeah, it was fall of 88. And then pretty much stayed down there and graduated, and then just started to try to play in the scene, meet people. And I stayed in the area for I definitely punched the ticket for about 20 years of, Dallas area
Really?
residence. Yeah.
Wow. So
So
speaking of UNT, actually, this is one of our topics that we wanted to discuss. You also played on Snarky Puppy's second album, right?
yes, they had a drummer, a brilliant drummer named Steve Pruitt. That was
Okay.
they went through a few different incarnations of drummers, but they were all still students at that point, or maybe a few had graduated. But I just from living in Denton, playing with all manner of folks, a lot of students. Just it was a very just open, nice scene. There wasn't a lot, really no attitude.
Okay.
So I was the older guy, but yeah, I got to know Mike League just from literally just like a jam session in someone's apartment. The bass
Okay.
player
Wow.
leader. When we became friends, and at some point, maybe it was like a year or two after that, they were going to do that record. I think it's called "The World Is Getting Smaller."
That's
And
right.
they wanted to. Mike had an idea of doing a two drummer thing on some of the songs.
Okay.
So he invited me in, and so Steve Pruitt was the main drummer, but they arranged some stuff for two drum sets, and so the tunes that I'm on, it's kind of a hard left right pan of the performances.
Okay.
And yeah, we recorded it at this studio just right in this in Denton, and I think I did maybe one or two gigs just locally, and then after that, I don't know, it might have been another year or two. I still lived in town, and then I moved back to Michigan. Just when they had started to really try to hit the road,
Yeah.
nationally. They were doing some regional stuff, but they came and played up in Ann Arbor at this little club. I think it was like the second time they'd been up here, just a few months after I'd moved back. And there was, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 people there. And they bought this old dodgy school bus, and it was very DIY. And
Yeah.
but credit to those guys. I mean, they deserve every bit of success. They came back multiple times. Every time it was bigger clubs, and then they won their Grammy, and then it just that blew the lid off. Then it was shoulder to shoulder, sold out gigs, and they played up here probably, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 times since I've moved back, and I've been here about
I
11
saw,
years.
I think, one of their Detroit shows on YouTube. I think
Yeah.
it was the Cliffs something. I forgot the venue name.
Cliff Bells, yeah.
Cliff Bells, yeah.
Which is that's a small, pretty, medium-sized jazz club. I mean, it's tables and,
right.
it's not a kind of a standing-only venue. But yeah, that was in there. Must have been, how long ago was that? Maybe what, 7, 8 years ago, or
Probably.
yeah, because now if they came through, they would be playing, probably 3,000-4,000 seat, whatever, big place. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm sure they.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you guys are in Montreal?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Have you seen them play up there?
I was gonna go, but I didn't end up going. I won't miss them next time, though. That's for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it was during the Jazz Fest. I think about 2 years ago, maybe.
Yeah. We have a big
Nice.
jazz festival here.
Have you ever played it? The Montreal International Jazz Fest?
No, I've actually, sadly, I've driven by Montreal. Actually, just on tour, both with Andy, and then there was another artist that I did some touring with in the early 2000s called the Rocket Summer, and we did the Quebec City and then drive to Ottawa. And do you go by? Is Montreal on the way, or?
Yes, on the way to Quebec City.
Yes, okay. So
it's like in the center.
It's in the center between
Quebec City and Ottawa. Yeah.
Because I'd see signs for it, and I'd always think, oh man, one of these days I gotta make it there, because it's it's obviously an amazing music town. So many cool bands have been from there, and artists, and
Yeah. It's worth it, man.
Yeah.
And speaking of Andy, actually, you're currently playing with him?
Yeah, been with Andy now about definitely a little before I moved back. Ironically, I did a gig or two with him.
Because the band's from Texas, right?
Sorry.
Andy Timmons' band is from Texas, right? Like.
Yes, yeah, yes. Andy's not originally. He's originally from Indiana, but
Correct, yeah.
he ended up in Texas, in the Dallas area. And yeah, again, it was like, I jammed with him when I was still a student. It was maybe 91 or something like that. I literally, it was like on the sidewalk with a couple other guys, and he just came out and played with us, and it was great. And then I kind of didn't hear, we had lost touch, and then he had called me about subbing for his drummer, doing a New Year's gig, opening for Monty Montgomery, who's another great Texas guitarist and singer songwriter. That was maybe New Year's of I don't know, 2005 or something, 2006. So I did that, and then another year or two went by, and Andy reached out and asked me if I could fill in for their drummer to do an Italian tour. It was like a 2 or 3 week run in Italy.
Wow.
So I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. So I did that. At the time, I think his drummer is a guy named Mitch Marine, who's a wonderful drummer, who plays with Dwight Yoakam now.
Oh.
And before that, he was with Smash Mouth, and he actually was. He also was the longtime drummer in Brave Combo.
Yeah, the polka, right?
The polka, Grammy winning. I just did like one or two, like a weekend of gigs with them, and a couple other things with the leader, some studio stuff. But yeah, so Mitch was having some schedule conflicts, and so however it worked out, I did this tour, and then that was a blast, and I thought, okay, well that was fun, it was whatever, it was the end of that, and I ended up deciding to move back up here to Ann Arbor in 2009, in July, and then it was maybe that fall, Andy just reached out again and said, hey, we're going to go back to Italy. Do you want to go? So I was super psyched to do that. So ironically, since I moved back, I mean, it's been more of a full-time thing. We obviously right now during COVID, we're grounded, but we've done some video collaboration kind of tracks, but we did NAMM back in January, and then I think there was one final, it's like a one-off gig at a venue that's near Andy's home, north of Dallas, and we played there. Maybe it was February or something. I'm forgetting, but that was the last time that I played. But yeah, over the years, it's been NAMM show and some, at least maybe a tour a year, either Europe or Asia. And then, some one-off stuff in Texas. And we did a couple of national, just like in the van tours, which we hadn't really done, but we had some friends in a band based out of California called the Travis Larson Group. And they tour extensively around North America, and they offered us, basically their gear, and they opened for us, and they kind of booked the tour, and they're wonderful people, and so we were able to really string together some domestic dates, which was great. So we've also peppered in some of that, but yeah, it's been probably about 11 years, 10 11 years, kind of.
I love the version of Strawberry Fields is amazing.
Yeah, that whole record is it's pretty unbelievable, that Andy can play that, and kind of like one guitar to really cover everything, and
yeah, it's crazy,
very melodic.
Andy's an encyclopedic knowledge of the Beatles and all things British Invasion, and so it really comes from the heart. It's not just he's not doing a bit of just like, hey, I'm gonna do a Beatles record. I mean, he's
Oh no, he makes it look effortless too.
Yes, yeah, he was all too aware of just the weight of like covering that record, and the people that have done it before, and I think he really he did an amazing amazing treatment of that, and putting his own spin on it as well.
Sure.
It wasn't just a facsimile.
How about your band, Bobgoblin? me and Kev were wondering where's the bass coming from because we could hear the bass,
Oh yes.
but we don't see the
It was
bassist.
one of your
you know?
live gigs.
Yeah, we were
At a
watching a
festival or
video.
something.
Well, we've gone through we
Line of
went
bass.
actually the bass player. I guess the origins of Bobgoblin are that it was myself and our singer Hop. We went to North Texas together. He was a radio film TV major.
Okay.
And so he was not in the music school, but we met through, at the time, his dorm roommate, who was a percussionist that I was friends with. We'd see each other on campus, whatever. Come senior year, or his senior year, his senior project as a film major, instead of doing a film, he wanted to do a music video. And, and that was kind of special because it was, 1992 or 3, so it wasn't just, hold out your phone and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it involved, a nice camera and gear and editing equipment, which he had access to. And so I was just a stand-in drummer for one of his songs. And I thought, man, this is great. We should try to do this, play some shows, because I was about to be graduated and I didn't know what I was going to do at the time, but I was a little bit burned out by, music school at that point. And I kind of I felt like I wanted to really, I loved being in a band and I hadn't really been in one, since my high school rock band days.
Yeah.
In terms of, doing it at that level. But to answer your question, the original bass player was his brother, who played in the band for a couple years. We were playing more and more around in Dallas, and he left to pursue his job. And at that point, we got another guy on bass who's now our guitar player. And the problem was Tony, the bass player, who's a brilliant bassist, all the while we were dealing with kind of a revolving door of guitar players through the time we were signed to MCA and then afterwards. And we changed our name for a while. We were going by The Adventures of Jet. After our label, we got out of our label deal, we just kind of wanted a clean break from the Bobgoblin thing. And we were Hop was writing some, more sort of different. I mean, it was Bobgoblin sound, but I think he was exploring some more pop sensibilities.
Okay.
Maybe some of the, we weren't as concerned about a conceptual thing that Bobgoblin had. We wore jumpsuits and it was a whole like satirical military kind of backdrop on which the band existed. He sort of wrote this manifesto about the group. It's interesting. But I mean, obviously the music is the main point. And so Adventures of Jet was kind of a vacation from the conceptual stuff. And we just got up there plain clothes and we just, we did our thing. But all that through those years, we were having guitar player issues, either, just personality or ability, just being able to play the tunes the right way. We went through, I don't know, 8 or 10 guitar players, it seems.
Wow.
And in the end, Tony, the bass player, was like, well, man, I can probably just play this stuff on guitar, and then proceeded to like murder all of those tunes on guitar. It's like, dude, what you should have told us. We could have just found a bass player. And then after that, we did have a bass player, our good friend Darren, who has a home studio it's a professional studio, I should say. And he, that became more and more kind of like full-time for him, and he has a family. So, we just decided to, through a funny chain of events, we ended up just deciding to put the bass on like a DAT tape.
Okay.
And from the tracks. And
Right.
so the bass is perfect every night. So, the onus is on me to, kick the songs off and, hope I, can get through everything.
Yeah, I was telling you, I could hear bass, man.
I figured it was.
Yeah. We just run a split signal. I have bass in my earbuds with a click track coming out of the tape player, and the other side goes into an actual bass amp. So
I told you. I saw the.
So
bass.
there's a bass. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we've always talked about, like getting a cardboard cutout or a mannequin or something.
Yeah,
just
that'd be funny.
You
Yeah.
should. Yeah.
strapping a bass on. But yeah, But
Are
you
you
know,
guys
at this point,
are
what's
you guys
that?
playing together?
Sorry?
Do you guys still play together?
We do, yeah. I mean, you know, again, you know, with the current state of things, we all live in different states now.
Okay.
I didn't mention that our singer Hop, he's originally from Little Rock, Arkansas, which is about 5 hours from Dallas. And so in the midst of Bobgoblin being pretty full time, he moved back to Little Rock and was, you know, it was a pretty short commute. You know, we would drive back and forth. We always recorded our stuff up in Little Rock at this great studio. But then, yeah, I moved to Michigan, and then around the same time, Tony is now living in Chicago.
Okay.
So we're, you know, we still make it happen, but we're all sort of on the, you know, vertical now of,
Yeah.
You know, Little Rock and Chicago and Ann Arbor. But yeah, we're not, you know, we had a lot of issues just, you know, trying to find a booking agent, you know, trying to get somebody to, you know, to want to, you know, this was years ago to really take an interest in booking us, but you know, we weren't able to. There was a point where we weren't able to do it just like full time, you know, and
Yeah.
a booking agent wants you just to hit the
Yeah.
road and stay out for, you know, months, and you know, there was periods where that was more difficult. You know, the other guys have kids, and you know, now they're older, but we definitely pursued, you know, we pursued it for a while. We you know, opened some shows. Some friends of ours are in a band called Lagwagon. They were a big, like, Southern California kind of punk band. They were on this label called Fat Records that had a lot of like No Effects and Lagwagon. And there's a whole stable of bands that were just like huge here in the States and Canada and, you know, Europe. Kind of doing more of a surf punk, you know, pop punk stuff. And, you know, Lagwagon was attracting huge, you know, 15, you know, 100, 2,000 kind of like capacity shows. And the singer of Lagwagon liked our stuff, and he reached out at some point years ago and, you know, signed us to his label after we were off of MCA. And we opened some shows for Lagwagon. You know, we did our own stuff in Dallas and toured, you know, as much as we could, just, you know, booking ourselves. But it's, you know, it can be difficult. So
For sure.
yeah, but we're still, you know, best friends, and we do, you know, we try to do a few shows like in Texas or Arkansas, you know, some kind of little tour in you know, regionally, you know, every year or two. But yeah, it's been a while now since we've done anything.
Cool. Would you like to mention I see you're endorser of Cannabis Drums and
Cannabis and Evans Drumheads, innovative percussion, innovative percussion drumsticks, and, you know, brushes and everything else. Really amazing company. And I've been using Sabian cymbals, although I'm not an official endorser, but you know, I've gotten some love from them. So I've been using them
they're in Canada now, right?
They're out in New Brunswick.
New Brunswick, yeah.
Yeah. I know that they've been in Canada, I think, since their inception.
Yes.
If I'm not wrong. When
yeah, exactly. So it's the whole family thing there.
The brothers split, yeah. And but I've you know, obviously been to Canada many times, but haven't made it to New Brunswick. But I'd love to go.
Yeah, we haven't
check out the factory sometime.
Yeah,
we haven't.
Yeah?
We should go too.
Yeah, we should go too.
Okay.
So what's next for you, Rob? Any projects? Anything coming up?
You know, nothing. I mean, everything is really on hold right now, to be honest. You know, with Andy's group, you know, we had a you know, a really stout, you know, 3-week European run that was supposed to be in early May that got you know, postponed. At this point, I think it might be, you know, maybe this next year, next spring. You know, there was some festivals.
Yeah.
You know, and that was kind of like the big tour for the, you know, for the summer for me. But yeah, my last gig was it was a local thing here. It was, I'll never forget, because it was Friday, March 13th. And that was, after that, it all kind of got locked down. And so it's been, you know, going on 5 months. And
I think that was around the same time we saw our
It was
last
it
show.
was on that day we saw Blackberry Smoke, the Southern rock band.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Do you know of them?
I've definitely heard of them. Heard a lot of great things, but I'm not.
They're from Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the last. I think that was the last show, the last date that Canada allowed live shows.
And we saw them at the Corona Theater.
Yeah, and ironically,
Oh.
the place was called Corona Theater.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Good
stuff.
No, you can't make it up. So
Yeah.
thank you a lot, Rob, for being with us.
Of course.
Yeah, man.
You know,
Nice
Thank you guys.
and we're gonna follow up with you too in a few months, see what you're up to, and
That'd be great.
we could talk again like this.
Yeah.
Anytime. I have nothing but time right now.
Perfect. Thanks.
And
a lot.
now I have internet, so hey, I'm good to go.
Perfect.
All right, man.
Take care, Rob.
Thank you.
All right. All the best.
You
Bye.
too.
Stay safe.